A lot of headlines I want to share with you guys today that I found were important or they stood out to me when I was perusing the internet. And I also want to answer or discuss a little bit about the number one question we're getting right now, and that's about gold. I always like to say to you guys what I say to family members, what I say to friends of mine when they ask me, because then you know it's a genuine response of what I would tell someone. And my father asked me where he should invest a little bit of money, and I told him my perspective has not changed over the last 5 years. The place to put your money, in my mind, is gold mining companies. That's not trading advice for you. It's just what I'm doing, my opinion. And my buddy Tim asked me about Newmont Mining. What's going on with that? He said that the stock's killing him. I told him that I'm holding on for the payday. This isn't a thing where you are trading on a day-to-day basis or you buy it and hope to make 30 or 40% in a matter of months. Newmont Mining is positioned exactly where they need to be. They're mining a lot of copper along with gold. Copper prices are going up pretty strongly because there's not enough copper on the earth. So they're going to benefit from all these rising commodity prices. And when the US dollar breaks down a little bit, you're going to see a big bounce in things like gold, all precious metals. It's taking longer than I would have expected, but there is a payday at the end of this. It's not about trying to worry about if it goes up 5%, down 5%. Just hang on and wait. In my opinion, this is not trading advice. And you'll notice that gold prices are actually just hanging around. They take a few hits here and there, but gold prices right now, last I checked, are at $1,933. They're hanging around the 1950 range area for quite some time now. This is a consolidation phase. This means that the move is going to be even greater once it goes. I've been wrong before. I believe that gold prices are going to do tremendously well. And I think that if you get involved with the mining companies who are benefiting from them, like Newmont Mining, I think that you have a great chance of making tremendous amounts of profit. And I don't tell people what to do, but I would also suggest getting into some oil companies, energy businesses. But let's take a look around the rest of the economy and talk about the headlines that stood out to me, things I want to mention to you. Here's a headline, and most of these headlines are from CNBC. Fitch warns it may be forced to downgrade dozens of banks, including JP Morgan Chase. There's a lot of ripple effects and follow-on effects from the exposure of how weak a lot of these American banks are. We had the first pain when you rip the Band-Aid right off, but there's still an infection. That means that banks are going to be under a lot of pressure for a while until they get this all sorted out. People aren't confident in the banking sector, and they shouldn't be. China surprises with rate cuts as economy grapples with confidence crisis. The People's Bank of China is just reacting to some really horrible economic news that they got recently. China posted largely disappointing July data. If you guys remember, I was talking to you about that. Imports and exports both fell significantly. People from America are buying less from China. People from Europe are buying less from China. People from China are buying less from China. People in China are consuming a lot less than they did recently. If you think back a couple of years, China's economy was just always growing in double digits. And now things have turned. Their population is actually shrinking. India is already the more populous country out of the two of them, out of any countries. But in China, they're dealing with a lot more than just the import and export numbers. They're dealing with a major real estate problem. It started with the Evergrande crisis, but that's just an indication of what the health of the Chinese housing market economy is like. Homebuilder sentiment dropped sharply as mortgage rates surge over 7%. Builder sentiment dropped 6 points to 50 in August, well, according to the National Association of Home Builders and Wells Fargo Housing Market Index. Anything over 50 is considered positive. Mortgage rates are now holding solidly over 7%. The share of builders cutting prices rose to 25% in August from 22%. This is a reflection or a manifestation of how the interest rate increases are actually visibly hurting the economy now, which is what the Federal Reserve wanted. This is going to slow down inflation. Even the home builders are getting freaked out. Russia's central bank hikes rates to 12%. If you think we've got it bad here, with the rates where they're at, around 5%, Russia just went from 8.5% to 12% in one meeting. The bank called an extraordinary meeting amid pressure from Moscow to halt the rapid depreciation of the country's ruble currency. Window washing robots are working on Manhattan skyscrapers. This is a robot that Skyline Robotics has been building since 2017. And it's an example or a manifestation of people getting put out of work. There's a person who used to do the windows is not getting paid to do the windows anymore. And if you get robotic baristas and robotic bartenders and robotic window washers, society will be better off, but it's also going to hurt the economy first as we readjust, just like when you get rid of all the people who make horseshoes. It takes a while, but they find other jobs. But at first, when you don't need horses anymore and you need tires instead of horseshoes, they need people to be making the tires. The machine is part of a new wave of technology that can replicate human work. I wouldn't say replicate, I would say eliminate. Argentina devalues its currency and jacks up interest rates. Argentina's central bank devalued its currency, the peso, by close to 18% and hiked its benchmark interest rate by a whopping 21 percentage points to 118%. Argentina is a great example of what happens when you say, oh, we can never not pay our debts because we just print new money. We'll just print more money. Their interest rate's at 118%. Try borrowing money. And they devalue their currency. They don't announce it ahead of time. They just do it. So one day you wake up. The US dollar could do that too. One day you wake up and the price of everything is that much higher by close to what they devalue the currency by, approximately. Singapore among the world's first to agree to stablecoin crypto regulation. And things like this start off and then they get rolling. Kind of like strikes when the Starbucks stores started going unionized. And what did I tell you? Feels like a million years ago that the government does what it always does. It taxes and it regulates. So this is an example of the regulation that they're going to bring to the stablecoin in Singapore. Reserves that back stablecoins must be held in low risk and highly liquid assets. They must equal or exceed the value of the stablecoin in circulation at all times, the rules say. And although it doesn't sound like a good thing because it's regulation and governmental involvement and bureaucracy, it's a great thing for the stablecoins themselves. Anything you do to make the cryptocurrency industry more secure, more reliable, it'll pay off in terms of confidence even. Confidence is the most important thing when it comes to any kind of currency, whether it's a dollar or a beer coin. Regional banks slide after Fed's Kashkari advocates significantly further capital regulation. There's a lot of problems in the banking sector, and the more you put regulation, the more you tighten the screws, the better it will be, but there's a little bit of pain when that happens. If you say banks have to have this much in their capital reserves, this much how liquid it has to be, the thing is, it exposes the weaknesses of the banks. When you start looking into it, you rip up the rugs, you take down some of the drywall, you're going to find a lot of mold. That's what will happen, and that is what is happening with these banks right now. And the rating agencies are saying, oh, we're going to have to downgrade them. Yeah, because they're looking at them now. It was always that they weren't run in a healthy way. You can take in $1 and lend it out to multiple people. What this is telling you is when he spoke the truth, the banks got freaked out because he's saying there's a lot of mold underneath this rug. And the markets are down across the board. I just checked again. Gold is down. Cryptocurrencies are down. Oil's down. NASDAQ, Dow Jones, S&P 500, Russell 2000. All of them are down about 1/4 to 3/4% right now. They weren't earlier, but now they are.